Well, here we are again in this very sunny and bright afternoon. This day here, and I know that you yourself will be saying, "Wow, really is it bright?" Yes, yes. It's all because each part of Trinidad and Tobago has different effects in terms of weather, so the sun or rain. So it might be raining here, sunning somewhere else, sunning somewhere here, raining somewhere there, But nevertheless, it's good to be here, and I'm having a cool afternoon. And I'm Dr. Kenneth Niles here this evening, bringing you into this other segment of, well, what should I say, parenting, child rearing. But I want us to look at the word nurture. And I write here in a context of nature. You may be seeing some greenery around me, yes. But so we have this fundamental issue of nurture and nature, or what we psychologists would term nature versus nurture. And it's important for us to see that nature is something that we can't really control. Firstly, it's genetical because I was born out of the DNA of, and so therefore there's a carrying through of the Niles all the way down, going backwards, of course, to the best and lots of other names we can find in our histories. And of course, as I go forward, somebody else next 30 years, 40 years might have a different name. But the DNA is really carrying through a specific context of the construct of the human body. I would have particular kind of teeth frame and hairline and chest and muscle frame and bone frame, all because of where my great grandparents were into their own anatomy. And so nature is something we don't work with. But what we are looking at here in context is the whole concept of nurture. How do we establish nurture, and how do we establish the fact that it is important to work this? I am a parent, and I was given the responsibility of nurturing my children. And I want to put in here quickly, not cloning my children. It's something we're going to be hearing more about. So that's something I want to really elaborate on in terms of maybe a publication. But today I want you to understand that nurturing is what we're looking at. We need to see that in the whole essence of the development of the child, development of where your child is going from 0 day to death to do their part. And so for you, it's important for us to see the different changes within each environment and within each family structure that continues to perpetuate that kind of change. Because wherever there is nurturing, there is changing. I sit around, as I said, nature, and I see trees, I see shrubs, and they all have a constant nurturing because they are changing. The nature is established: tree, bark, growth, branches, leaves. But the nurturing establishes the fullness of the foliage, the longevity of the tree, the weakness, the strength of the tree, the branches. So that we have to see that yes, we are human, yes, you are a parent, yes, you're a child, but excuse me, let's look at what happens for the nurturing. And so it's important for us to realize that all of this is fundamentally related to our socio-cultural context. How do we live? We have a child, wherever you may have a child. Let's say you have a child at home, home delivery. You come out, you are in your natural environment. So therefore, there is initially for you as a parent, no transitioning as if somebody, you were in a hospital or in any other clinic where you would have had a child with certain constructs in terms of lighting, food, temperatures, access, people. Now, so therefore you had to be shifting to work this new experience as mother or parent. But when you are home, it's a whole different experience. You are in your environment, you know where everything is, you feel comfortable, it's your bed, it's your room, it's your home, it's everybody around you. There's be more family than usual because nobody's saying get out, because everybody belongs. So with that kind of psychology, how do I continue? It's easy for me to get into that mode of affection and attachment easily from day one. I don't have to care for myself because I'm being cared for. I'm home. And so that when you start up with that mindset, by the time the child becomes a week or 2 weeks, you do not realize, that you are in the nurturing process. Yes. What do I need to do? What have I not done? You have birthed a child. You have already started to take care of, to bring development. So that, as we spoke of in the last session, that you have started to breastfeed. That is attachment. That creates the simulation for that security and that sense of safety within the home, between the arms of mommy or daddy's breast. Feeling that heartbeat, feeling that warmth, feeling that belonging. And so that apart from that, there's also the child's response to hearing and sight, seeing you smile, seeing you laugh, hearing your joyful noise. Yes, I'm sorry if I am really challenging you here, but the child is being nurtured by your personality. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to say come go, because the child does not know come go in 1 week, in 1 month. The child may not even realize that, or maybe by the time the child reaches maybe 8 months. But in that first 2 to 3 weeks, the child is learning and being nurtured by your very personality. And so your own sociocultural experiences impact this child in terms of how the child is growing. By the time the child gets to 1 month and 2, and there's much more identity in terms of smiling and beginning to coo, and there's much more movement, rolling and pressing with the feet in order to get some strength. The child is also picking up some of those movements from you. So I want you to see initially that nurturing is not about your voice given an instruction or command. It's about your very personality. And I think it is something that parents, we have to begin to identify, that who we are affects the growth and development of our child. That is where our parenting basically is very exacted. How do we establish those issues? Now, apart from that, of course, we have the biological context in terms of the health related factor. Not so much the fact genetically we have accepted that, but there may be issues that you may have. For instance, if you would have had a cesarean, or maybe you've had a very stressful birth, and there is that big word episiotomy, and so that you're slow on the move, or you may have some pain, or you may have had inward nipples, and so breastfeeding is very painful. Those emotions would have begun to affect the child in terms of how the child is feeling when you hold that child. It's important to understand the whole issue that you may have other illnesses that would affect, because you may have diabetes or hypertension. How do you work those things out in terms of caring, and the child is establishing those things? We want to look at the whole issue of how you perceive yourself. What about me? Parent. That sounds like parent. It is. Wow. Allow me to say this. We are mostly concerned about 2 words. Daddy, mommy. But before you get to daddy or mommy, please, parent is there. Before the child identifies the gender context of your own structure and your own socialization, whether you're male or female, whether you're mommy or daddy, the child understands that he's seeing you and relating to your personality and looking at that. So the whole issue of your own emotional status. How are you doing with your spouse or significant person? How are you working out the finances? How are you working out the home in terms of the aesthetics? Did you get the crib? I don't have this. You ain't buy that yet. Shoo, silent, hold. Hey, keep quiet, the child. I'm not sleeping. Oh my goodness, we are going through much issues in terms of our thought life. If I'd only known it was going to be. Apparently, we did not sit down and discuss what PARENT meant. So that in those first couple of weeks, we are really being tortured, so to speak, by the differences in time factors between the child's timing and yours. The things that you would have done, you do them no more. Now you are regulated and mandated by who is called baby. Whether it's a chunky nicey son or daughter, that baby is regulating your life. That baby is creating all these issues in where you are and how you are. It's important to understand how, therefore, do I find that interpersonal relating with my child. Yes. Suck, breast. Okay. Feed, bath time, juice time, this time, nap time. Hold on. Now I know I've heard that for all my years. My mother went through that. I've seen my own wife do that. Have this regimented time. But that doesn't say that you are having an interpersonal relationship. You know, if I were to say this out right here, we are still as adults having problems finding that prime time to have interrelational dialogues with our spouses, with our significant others, with our family. You can imagine, did you plan that with your baby? Did you plan to have a special time with your baby where you could just sit with your baby or walk and talk and have a personal, or rather should I say interpersonal experience with that baby? Oh no. When you sleep, I sleep. When you up, I up. You drink, shut up. Don't cry. What to do? Your papa, your dad. I have to say papa, no diaper. Your papa dry, shut up. So that we are into this strict mood, these strict concepts of how to be. But we are not focusing on the fact that we need to have that interpersonal time with that baby. Do you want to call it bonding time? You can. And it is so important for us to see how that influences the child's alertness, and may I use the word cognition, so the child begins to realize that they are hit. And you know, you can pause in your conversation to allow the child to respond. I know, what kind of, that sounds like madness. The child is not talking. The child may not talk, but that baby may be responding. And that's where you begin to see initial reflections or initial points about whether the child may have developmental issues. Because you would have been in the child's face, looking for that wink, looking for that smile, looking for that turn, looking for that teeth, looking for that cooing. And how long is it taking to count? That will help you not to be in shock next 2 years when the child is not speaking yet, or the child is not walking yet, and you get pandemonium. Oh my gosh, the child have a problem. Hold on. We need to see that nurturing at that early stage, within that first couple months, let me say 6 months, is so important for child development. Yes, I may have to apologize. Maybe you have not been so taught, but I'm glad that I'm on this set here. I'm glad I'm able to have this few minutes with you to bring us into that awareness that parenting starts immediately in that term, nurturing. How do we realize that there is that influence? How do we realize that interpersonal context? Now, when that is important, so that when we start to talk, when we start to sing, when you may start to pray, or when you develop those language skills that you have and start to speak in different languages, that child is learning. The best time for a child to learn a foreign language is between 0 and 1 year. What? Yes. Because just as how that child learns to speak English without speaking it, and then speaks it by Two, you say, how the child learn English? The child has been learning English since the child born hearing you. So if you start speaking Spanish or French at that age, you know that by the time the child gets to 2, that child could speak Spanish also. And I have proof of that. I know. Because it is important for us to set those kinds of ethnical, cultural context for our baby to see and to experience. The music you play, you want to know why the child having this particular slant towards a particular genre, because that child would have been hearing it even before the birds. So we need to be really, really important to see the continuity, not discontinuity, the continuity of the child's development as you progress with this word nurturing. It's important for us to understand that those contexts of the interaction, this interrelating, that need to continue examining and seeing as the child grows. And I want to repeat myself, the winking, the smiling, the cooing, the laughing, all these things, the way, the movement, the kicking, all these things can only be seen when you spend time with that child, not occasionally. It's not at the bar time. It's not at feeding time. It's that time where we can sit together and say, hey, how is my chunky? You know, how is my baby? Yes, look, mommy here. You know, mommy had a very good day. Mommy was able to sleep. And I actually had a cook a meal. You know that? Talk with the child. You're not going crazy. No, you're not going crazy. What you're doing there, as I said earlier, you are developing that cognition. You are developing an important aspect of how that child is growing and developing. As I said earlier, it helps us to realize that the difference with the developmental issues, whether the child's going to have developmental problems or intellectual problems, we don't know. But you could begin to realize in those early 12 months, into the next 6 months, in that first 18 months, those issues that will need attention. Now, some of us without knowledge get very panicky. Because somebody say, by this age, the child's supposed to be talking, or the child's supposed to be running, and the child's supposed to be, hold on. There is no supposed age that the child ought to do what the child must do. What we are looking at here is how the child is developing. Because a child, because of the environment, may develop slower than a first child who has no siblings may develop at a pace that is not consistent with your second and third child. That second child has helped with that first child because there is somebody at my height that seems to be almost the same size as me. I can relate. So I'm going to follow that child and pick up those notions and those actions and those what you call antics and start to work. So that second child may develop faster than that first child. And that third child, because there is more social stimulation through language, through contact. Are you hearing me? Because of what we call play, PL, and we will deal with that subsequently. So I want you to see today that it's important for you to, and we will talk about that maybe in our next session, when we are going to see how to handle some of these intellectual issues that are persisting, or developmental issues that you make you feel you're not a good parent. Oh God, something happened to my child. The two are not compatible. No. Good parent and child development, two things are different. But you have to be involved in both the parent and the development with that N word called nurturing. It's not just to say I have a child. It's to know you have a job, a full-time job, in how we are going forward to establish what is called nurturing. So today, I want you to realize that it is important to see that the child developing from 0 age, focusing on all those different experiences that are going to cause change within their social fabric, basically social, what happens at the home, which is called, of course, called home, and that experience is going to cause that simulation. We want you to know it's a universal context, not just specific to your home, but you go out and bring in things. The child hears a musical item hum somewhere else. The child hears the television, and of course, for some of you, you may have done that thing. Put your child in front of the TV and they look at Sesame Street or they look at some other cartoon, and then some years later, your child is speaking Yankee. You want to know who trained the child? That's why I say you can train the child to speak Spanish by putting on a Spanish station, and the child will learn to speak Spanish and speak it all on its own because of that word, nurturing. So let's be aware of the very vital components of the initial stage of nurturing as we continue to talk about parenting. Dr. Kenneth Niles again saying thank you for viewing, and see you